happen, but it happened. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Call the meeting to order. Rachel, why don't we just get started with you? Just
Oh, sure.
jump right in.
Sure. So we are going to start this evening's board meeting, our December board meeting, with our Promise in Action presentation. And this month we have the 6th grade Promise Project. So Mr. McCora, as principal, would you like to come up and introduce everybody?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening with you. We were so fortunate last year as we were looking for a new guidance team as our wonderful team had retired. And we were so fortunate to get Sammy Mazo and Mr. Tim Nelson to come and work with us in the middle school. They have brought nothing but a renewal of energy and an incredible amount of care and concern for our students and really putting the students in action. They've taken our guidance quarterly class and just revamped it. And one of the things that we've been focusing on this year as a school has been the heart of the promise among all of the other tenants, but we've really focused on the heart of the promise. And Tim and Sammy came up with this wonderful idea about looking at the promise as early as the 6th grade and coming up with some type of a culminating experience based on that course that they have taken. So I'm going to turn it over now to two very special guidance counselors, Mr. Tim Nelson and Sammy Mazo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you everybody for coming, particularly students from A Block counseling class. Appreciate you guys coming out, and parents as well, and to the board and the administration. We really couldn't be prouder of this group. I mean, this is it started out as a trial, like an idea that came out of some curriculum leader meetings over the summer, and thinking about how to bridge the gap between the work that these students do in 5th grade with the Be the Change project, and then ultimately landing in the portfolio in 8th grade, and really understanding the promise and the heart of the promise, and just knowing that these guys kind of live and breathe it every day. And so, but they don't always know it, right? So I think what we really tried to do with this project was first learn about the heart of the promise, what it means, and we'll talk a little bit about getting through the ideas that we had from the beginning. And they really embodied the promise of this project, the open-mindedness to new ideas, the collaboration that they had, the grit that they showed, particularly the filming process of this video that we created. And definitely some distress tolerance amongst their groups when we got into the group work. There were some disagreements along the way, but as we know from the promise, they handled their discord with just ease and enjoyment. And I think the collaboration with the administration and the vision of the promise has made this a really fun project. So, and we'll talk a little bit at the end about what Q2 looks like. We have some new ideas happening right now with Q2, but just couldn't be prouder of this group of students. All right, so
just
yeah.
To echo Tim, thank you everybody, thank you Joe for the warm introduction, and just thank you for the warm welcome to Bronxville. It's such an incredible place, and really our goals in this were to understand the heart of the promise, and as Tim said, to make it more explicit, to make explicit what we're doing every single day. So to understand the heart of the promise, open-mindedness, collaboration, reflection, grit, wellness, all of those elements were infused into this project. And really, at the start of 6th grade, at the start of middle school, kids are transitioning from 5th grade to middle school, to develop a leadership voice early on. We wanted kids to feel empowered, to feel like this was something that they could own and that they could present and feel really good about, and to use their voice in a way that they maybe haven't before. So really just, we collaborated a lot. The kids will speak more to it, so I won't speak too much about it, but collaboration is such a key to success in so many areas of life, and the kids rocked it. They collaborated with ease. It wasn't always easy what they were talking about. They might not have agreed, but they collaborated and created something for the Bronxville community. So the idea of the project, which we pitched, was to really do something that they thought would enhance the Bronxville community and reflected heart. So we'll talk about that process, but it was for kids and by kids, something really special, and to just feel really strong in this transition to middle school.
Yeah. So of course we started with a little bit of learning around the Heart of the Promise, and this class did a nice gallery walk around the classroom, and you could see in the different stations there were post-it notes of kids sort of reflecting on the heart and what it actually looked like in their daily lives in school, which was really fun to do. And then at the end we created this heart for the class and just kind of talking as a group about what heart really meant to them. You can move on to the next one. Just a couple photographs of the activity, and just sort of reflecting. We did this, I think, over 2 different class periods. You can go to the next one there too. And then this one shows a little bit of the brainstorm that we had, and really the charge was just to do something, like Ms. Mizzo said, to enhance the community. So we had ideas like doing a Bronx River cleanup, or volunteering, or raising money for an animal shelter. But the idea that really stuck with this group was their interest in creating a music video for the Be the Light, which is our alma mater, in which the video would kind of show off heart with them doing things that reflected kindness and that sort of reflected the culture around the Heart of the Promise. So we spent about 2 class periods running through all these different ideas, and there were some really good ones for sure, and we might save them for other projects, but they landed on this music video idea. Miss Mezzo and I had no opinion for them, like on what they should do. It really was driven from them, and that's the beauty, I think, of this project, is that it really does come from the students, and I think it really incorporates their voice, and I think what they got, and they'll tell you themselves, but they really enjoyed that part of it. So that's where we landed. It's, well, yeah, we're going to show it in just a minute. You get to see it that way.
I know the suspense is building.
But
But I'm going to invite our kids to come up first. So why don't you guys come on up, our A block class, and I just like. And I just again want to echo Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson and I had an opportunity to team teach this class, and they were a dream to teach. So eager, so engaged, and I want to just say thank you to all of you. You have so much to be proud of. The way you've jumped into 6th grade, the way you jumped into this right now. So what we want to do is, just pop over to the next slide. Is just kind of hear from you what your biggest takeaways were from this experience of the Promise Project in our quarter 1 class.
Let's kick this off.
Evan, we're all looking at you.
Okay, so the project was a great project, and everybody fit in and kind of what they wanted, and other people had ideas that other people might disagree, but overall the project was good because everybody agreed on something that we could do, and it all fell into place. And yeah, it's just that everybody agreed and was happy with how the thing came out, the video came out.
So nobody felt like they were left out, or nobody dominated the conversation. Everybody had a chance to talk and share what they thought, and we came up with this wonderful video.
The cool projects that we do in Bronxville, like this especially, it encourages kids to not just think of school as a chore and kind of want to come to school and be creative.
I think that, especially with this presentation and the video, that we took on the role of leadership and our own opinions and got to put it together with our work and our group.
So we all had designated jobs at the beginning of it, but in the end we all pitched in on all the different jobs to help each other out.
I think something that was really cool about this project was the fact that it kind of just started with ideas on a whiteboard and trying to figure out how it's all going to work out, and then it really turned into something that I actually think turned out really well, and that was a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and also it was really cool because it was really cool to let people know about the amazing town that we live in, because we're so lucky that we get to go to
like an amazing school and live in an amazing town. And it was like really nice to get to like show people that with like the creativity of this video.
It was very cool just as an observer. I mean, we were teaching the class, but observing the process really, and we didn't do very much. Like we kind of sat back and watched them sort of take it from the beginning, right, from the brainstorm session all the way to the end. So that was really cool to see, and really to see the elements of the promise, like you guys in creating the thing to advertise the promise, you were doing it, right, and that was very cool to watch. That was awesome. Anybody else have any last minute? This is your chance before the big debut. Okay.
So with that, celebrating this amazing community, we'll jump right in.
It's also performed by them too. They did both, yes.
Wait for me.
projects now. One of them includes, they're going to take on a PBIS challenge along with Mr. Baglica and Mr. McCord in the middle school to create a middle school version of the Bronco card, which they're kind of like missing a little bit from elementary school. So we're now brainstorming on ways kids can earn promise cards, which they've designed, and turn them in for different things like a homework pass or lunch in town or things like that. So that's quarter 2, and they're working on that now.
Yeah, our other class is working on, they felt really passionate about helping 5th graders with the transition to middle school, not just having the grown-ups help with the transition, but really, again, kids for kids. So they've been working on presentations and one-pagers for 5th graders transitioning to middle school.
So to be continued, but thank you guys, really.
Great
appreciate
job.
Thank you, thank you everybody for your support.
That's fantastic. Really proud of all of you. Really proud of you. Excellent job.
Thanks, Sammy.
All right. Why don't we just, well, I'm going to need to do approval of the minutes. We need approval of the minutes. A motion, please.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And I think we're going to Dan.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, Michael, this is a tough act to follow. We're going straight from, the promise to counting the beans.
Yep.
Michael
Do it to music, it'd be great.
Only could be the light.
Michael Connolly from the Bonadio Group, our audit firm, is here. I guess it's Bonadio and Company, LLP, with our fiscal year end June 30, 2024 financial statements and audit report for both the district and the extra classroom activity accounts. They were presented in depth to the audit committee yesterday. A clean audit, although a little late this year. We're working on speeding up the process and expect an on-time audit next year. We usually get this either around October board meeting or November board meeting, so it's a little late, and we're going to get it earlier next year. Michael is here tonight to present the full board with I guess a big overview.
Yep, a very quick overview, and again, I apologize, this will not be as exciting as the last presentation, so I'll try to make it short and sweet. Like Dan said, my name is Michael Connolly. I'm a manager on the external audit, and I'm with the Bonadio Group. And as Dan said, we went over with the audit committee yesterday a very in-depth presentation, so today will just be a quick overview. So first, I'd like to start by thanking Dan, Terry, and the business office. An audit is a big lift for everyone, us and them, so we just want to thank them and all their hard work for helping us get through this process. So to start off, there are 4 deliverables with the external audit. There's the financial statement report, the extra classroom report, required communication letter, and then the management letter. To start off with the financial statements, we have the independent auditor's report. This is where we note our opinion of the district's financial statements, which we provide an unmodified opinion. This is our highest level of assurance and consistent with prior years, so all good news there. Another report is in the back of the financial statements. It's called the Government Auditing Standards Report. This is where we note that we're required to report on internal controls over financial reporting. And this report notes that there were no material weaknesses. However, there was a significant deficiency, which was due to multiple files that we received that didn't reconcile with the trial balances, which led to the delay in the financial statements and the audit. And then the second part of this report is to note that your compliance with laws, regulations, and grant contracts, and that if there were non-compliance, that will lead to a material misstatement of the financial statements, of which there was none. So again, good news there, and consistent with prior years. Another thing we'd like to note is that the district has a requirement to stay under a 4% fund balance. That's statewide for every school district, and you were at 3.58, so under that threshold, so good news there as well. Then onto the extra classroom report. The extra classroom, we again provided an unmodified opinion, which is our highest level of assurance, and again, consistent with prior years. So like I said, that was a quick overview, but I'm open to any questions if anyone has any questions.
Pete, you want to add anything?
I do. So, so we have deficiencies on just rectifying balances. Just so people know, like, we have different numbers in there, but you're not talking about massive numbers in each fund, right? You're talking about 1,000 here, 2,000 there, 5,000 here. You're not talking about 250,000 off.
No, it wasn't crazy numbers. It was more just, it was a lot of reports that would come to us, and the problem is with our, for us is if we get a report and then it's a difference from the trial balance, or there's a number we find out that should have been on that report that wasn't there, and then we correct it. And every place I go to, there's some entries, and that's expected, but the problem was there was a lot of them, which led to us essentially making corrections, and the fear is us auditing our own corrections, so that's where it becomes a significant efficiency.
And the recommendation was, like, we should be reviewing this on a quarterly basis. And if our numbers are good on a quarterly basis, you know, we're really just talking about that last quarter of the year where we'll have to figure out those numbers. And we know, problem is, this audit is late, and we just don't want it being late
Of
going
course,
forward.
exactly. And
So
we don't want to
if we do that, and we, you know, absolutely work Dan and work with your team, it should be, hopefully it will not be a problem going forward.
Exactly, yep.
In your opinion, what do you think, just going a little bit deeper on the significant deficiencies, which is an issue, what do you think has caused this, these differences in multiple places between the balances?
So I know in the past we would get reports, and sometimes it's a little bit of differences in areas. So like we'll get a report that either is less than the trial balance or more than trial balance, so maybe a number is not included on the report that's included on the trial balance, or vice versa. So it takes more time for us to figure out what the true balance really is at year end for those accounts, and that was really what it came down to, was there being just a lot of the reports we had to go through and with a fine tooth comb to figure out what the true balance was for each of them.
Okay, got it. And in a layer below that, is this process that you're worried about? Is it training? Are there things that you look at as remediation efforts to fix this that we should be thinking about?
I can get back to you. I don't have an answer for that, honestly, off the top of my head. I can touch base with the principal, and we can touch base with Dan and go over that together.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't have an answer for that right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Susan, did you have anything to add?
I know we had a pretty thorough discussion in audit committee.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
We have resolutions A, B, and C, which serve to accept the audit, which is required, and related corrective action plans as required each year for all audits by the New York State Comptroller. And this includes something related to what the board accepted last month. There's also a corrective action plan that I had to separate out from the audit report for the internal audit focus area of IT.
That's later on in the meeting.
Oh, it is? All right. Well, that one's later on. So these corrective action plans are related to this audit.
Right.
And I file them with the state each year.
So I have
Thanks.
sorry, I didn't know. Do you have anything else to add?
No, that's
Okay, so motion to approve resolutions A through C.
Motion?
Second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Glad to get that behind us. Dr. Kelly, we're on you.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to use this portion of the meeting to share with the Bronxville school community a letter I received about our 7th graders upon the return from the annual overnight trip to Williamsburg. Dear Dr. Kelly, I would like to take a minute of your time to let you know just how great your students were on their trip to Colonial Williamsburg. Many times today, young people and school children in particular get a negative image. They are perceived as being rude, lazy, disrespectful, and much more. To the contrary, the students that I had the absolute pleasure of spending 2 days with were just the opposite. They were laser-focused, motivated, and unbelievably respectful. I had Colonial Williamsburg interpreters express just how impressed they were with the students. I also had other visitors mention to me how impressed they were of the students' behavior and the quality of their questions. While I've been a tour guide at Colonial Williamsburg working for a private business for a short time, my experience as a tour guide goes back more than 25 years. working on the New Jersey Vietnam Veterans Memorial and setting up the educational center and designing the tour program before moving to Hawaii and working at Pearl Harbor and guiding tour groups to the Battleship Missouri and the Arizona Memorial. Over those years, coming in contact with thousands of students, I can honestly state without a word of exaggeration that every student and teacher was spectacular. They projected everything that you would want them to. This is reflective of their parents, their family, school, teachers, and the community at large. I politely request that you let the parents know how great a job they are doing and to encourage the students to continue being as focused and respectful as they are. In closing, I look forward to having the pleasure of meeting the next class of students next year, and I hope I will still be in my home of Williamsburg, Virginia to greet them. Thank you for the great job that everyone does. I wish you the best of holiday season. Sincerely yours, Dave O'Sullivan. So this is not certainly the first time we've received this kind of feedback about our children when they venture out beyond the village. I just thought it would be really important to share this with the broader community and to really celebrate our children.
Terrific.
Thank you.
We are fortunate this evening to have Louise Jacobs here with us as our student representative.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Louise. I just came to share some updates about what has been happening in the high school recently. So just prior to Thanksgiving break, the senior class hosted a de-stressor event where they had donuts and coffee, and they just got to take a break and all be together. The SFL also hosted the second annual high school spelling bee, and both of these events were a big success. When we returned from the Thanksgiving break, the 9th grade class hosted the annual holiday party for the kids at the Andrus School, and they enjoyed that. The band had its annual winter concert where the band, the honors band, and the jazz band performed. Winter sports seasons have started and many teams have had games and been practicing regularly. The upcoming high school musical Mamma Mia began rehearsing, and they are set to perform February 6th, 7th, and 8th. Today, the freshman transition program participated in a gingerbread house decorating contests where leaders and groups competed for the best house. So it was a good experience for the leaders and the freshmen to work together on that. Tomorrow, the SFL is hosting the annual Holiday Balladay, which is a 3v3 basketball tournament that anyone in the high school can sign up for and participate in, and that raises money for the SFL. Tomorrow is the 8th grade and high school winter chorus concert at 7 in the auditorium. And after break, the week of January 20th is midterms and the end of quarter 2. And finally, I know everyone, including myself, is very excited for the early release on Friday and the 2-week winter break. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
You want to introduce Brad? Or?
Sure. So this evening, we will be meeting our annual requirement for our Director of Technology to inform the community at large about cybersecurity. So Brad Ashley is joining us in this capacity this evening.
Thank you. It's a great way to calm the nerves of being up here by running everything in the meeting. This was well planned if it was. So thank you for having me. Everybody knows I love to talk about cybersecurity and keeping our district safe. So this is a requirement for our Ed Law 2D, which is a requirement that went on the books in October of 2021. And the idea was just to protect student data as more and more software companies are requiring it to sync up and to make a more interactive experience. And so the Ed Law 2D really focuses on student data and what schools are giving to these companies. So with that, I'd like to start on our general cybersecurity kind of philosophy, and we kind of have three main ideas. We have the technology that's in place, the process in which we work through, and the policies, and then people. And it always kind of lands on people, and I'll end on that. So the technology that we have all the latest firewalls. We unfortunately do have CrowdStrike, which hopefully nobody was traveling in July when that hit, but it is protecting us. And what we do is we subscribe to Lyric Services, so that's the Lower Hudson Regional Information Center. And what we do is by subscribing to those services, we're pooling resources with other districts, and it just creates a bigger data center that's more protected 24 hours, 7 days a week, instead of our small districts and a bunch of districts trying to do it their own. So it's pooling resources together and making sure that we have one robust firewall that somebody is monitoring 24/7 instead of trying to do it individually for the 40-some districts that are all split up in Westchester. The second part of our philosophy is the process or the policies, and really what this focuses on is how we're onboarding, removing, and informing people of what happens. So this is becoming a bigger focus in the outside world as there are more threat actors trying to get in access to different places. One thread that I've been following is there's a popular company out there called KnowBe4, and it's a very popular cybersecurity company. And they actually went through a process of trying to onboard somebody. They went through the interview process, they checked references, everything kind of checked out. They sent them, because it's a remote company, they sent them a laptop. When the laptop got there, they logged in, and the company was tracking it and noticed some inconsistencies. And it turned out this person that went through the interview process was actually a North Korean spy. And so they kind of go through and it opened their eyes to being a cybersecurity company that got hacked. And so it's been really interesting to follow that thread because they now have a new perspective on how to do things, and they're really focused on this policy and process too. What we've tried to do is shore up the amount of touch points that there are when somebody is onboarded, and then when an account is created, what permissions they're given based on one thing instead of somebody at Lyric or somebody internally trying to give all these permissions. We're trying to automate all that, so it's really clean who has access to what. And then the benefit of all of that is that when we flip a switch, it takes away all those things. And so we're just trying to automate that so it's not having to communicate to 4 different people that please turn off this access or whatnot in those emergency situations. So just really focused on cleaning up that automation. And then, of course, people. And you're only as good as the people clicking on email links. And so what this really focuses on is cybersecurity training. We do two bouts of training. Each are about a half hour. And then we do a phishing campaign in between. If anybody's works in corporate America, they've probably seen this, where you'll get a suspicious email and you either click on it. And if in certain businesses, if you click on it, there's more training. We don't actually have that, but we do have additional training for everyone. And then we really just focus, after the 2 trainings that are already completed, or completed as of Friday, we just really focus on awareness and keeping it top of mind. The holidays are always an important time to keep abreast of cybersecurity because there's so many phishing campaigns going out there with the latest toy, or get this for your loved one, when it's actually a link. In December, which was actually last week, it's Computer Science Education Week and the Hour of Code. Again, just kind of making it aware that this is new and something to think about there. In January, we have Data Privacy Week, and then in February, we have Safer Internet Day, and there's other ones. There's Password Change Day. So again, just this awareness campaign and all these weird holidays that I get to celebrate. And then what we really try and do is focus on protection for work and protecting our systems here. But then this is one of those things that everybody has a personal email. And so this is also protecting you at home and on your personal email, and almost at least weekly, if not daily, I get emails from people saying, oh, there was a phishing campaign on my personal email, or I got a weird text. And it's been great to kind of get that feedback and constant communication with our staff, because they're recognizing and they're not falling for things. And one thing that I didn't put on here, but our phishing campaign rates are 10% lower than educational institutions of the same size. And that's just because we kind of keep on it. We've been doing these trainings for a few years. We focus on the awareness, and then we create an environment where people are seeing something and they're saying something. Perfect. So this is the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is the
They have 4 main components. This was back in October. Every October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and it's really about phishing. There's a greater awareness with the rise of AI and how these emails are created. It used to be very broken up, but now AI creates it, so it's kind of natural language. Using strong passwords, and then we do our annual password reset in October and then February. Enable multi-factor authentication. We had as a staff for all of our Google accounts, and anybody that's watching, I think the 10 people that were watching online, please try to set up multi-factor authentication on whatever accounts you can. There are new rules by NIST, which is a national cybersecurity organization, and it says that 13 characters, a complex password, is really great, but multi-factor is that physical component that you need to have. So your phone, a security key, which I carry, something that shows that it's really you rather than just a complicated password that's now somewhat hackable through AI or other means. And then updating your software. And district-wide, we take care of that. We push out updates as needed, but then this is really focusing on personal devices. I'm way over 5 minutes, aren't I? All right, let's keep going. All right, so September technology updates. So in February of 2024, we upgraded to Wi-Fi 6, which isn't readily available on every device, but when it becomes available, we're ready for that, so that's great. We've also upgraded to 10 gigabit bandwidth. We don't actually stream that, that's just a capability, and with more and more things going online and being network dependent, we really opened that up so that we're protected, and we also have additional safeguards in place that I'm not supposed to say on a public YouTube. We have BenQ boards in every classroom now, and they all have networking capabilities, and this also allows us to do some security things to be able to broadcast messages. So not only our PA system, but now our BenQ boards, once we get the system set up, we're working with BenQ, in fact, to tie it into our system so that we can do an all call and it will go out to the boards as well. Continue training in Google certification, just being able to use those skills, and then really focusing on digital citizenship. In the middle school, we had a district attorney come in at the end of October. They did an assembly with middle school students, and then they had a Zoom meeting with parents. This is kind of a passion project for Joe McCurra and I, just because we constantly are getting emails about, middle school kids and the choices they make. Not the ones that we saw here, but other middle school kids. And then Janelle Burley-Hoffman is a favorite of ours that comes in, and she'll be here January 13th. And how we kind of view this is the district attorney is more of the heavy, the consequences, and then Janelle Burley is more of a soft approach of okay, if you're using technology, here's a smart way to use it. All right, and then I think I just have the DPO, so the Data Privacy Officer, and then here's the checklist. And so, again, we're ongoing protection of PII, so personal identifiable information through EdLaw 2D and staff trainings, working with the National Institute of Standards and Technology, that's NIST that I had mentioned earlier, reviewing and implementing the upcoming NIST 2.0 standards, and then policies that we have are posted on our school website on the technology page, and there's a screenshot on the next one. Do we have any immediate questions?
I remember a couple of years ago there were a lot of, we were hearing from time to time about ransomware. Is that, and there were some districts, like even on Long Island, that were paying ransom
Yes.
to get their data. So is that still happening?
It is. So I can't remember, it all kind of blends together. I think it was last school year, at the beginning of the school year, there were 2 districts in Westchester that were hit. I haven't heard of any recently, but it is still always a threat, and so that's why we really focus on the people part of it, because oftentimes those ransomware is somebody accepting some sort of link through an email, and realistically, the ransomware oftentimes is downloaded on the computer, and then it sits dormant for 3 months, for 6 months, for however long, and then it's launched, because they kind of understand that if people are constantly scanning, it wants to be in your system. And all of these things are known, they're known practices of the hackers, and that's another reason that we like to pair with Lyric, because Lyric also knows this, and so they're constantly scanning systems and looking for anything, and we have plenty of backups, and we have plenty of things that are kind of going through. All right. Christina, was that a hand up? Okay, perfect. All right, any other questions? I'm always available by email if you have anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Why don't you jump in, personnel?
So relatively short personnel agenda this evening. We've had an opportunity to discuss these items. Leave is being extended, and therefore the leave replacement I'm asking you to consider extending. We were able to find a new 4th grade teacher. Communication will be going out to those parents tomorrow. We have a promotion that I'd like you to consider of Tony Hernandez, who is our payroll clerk and is eligible for a promotion to senior payroll clerk. And Dan and I looked at salaries comparable and just could not be more pleased with her skill set and how she handles the plethora of employees she has to deal with. So we're very excited to have her in this newly formed position. And then we had one revision to the winter coaches roster. There was an error in calculation. So if you could consider, please, items A through K tonight.
Okay. Motion to approve personnel action items?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Dan, on to financials.
Yeah, the board has the preliminary financial summary for the month of October. As we're still digesting the impact of the teachers union settlement from late last year, I'm not yet projecting any surplus from salary lines, which typically towards the end of the year is where a lot of the surplus would come from. However, we have had some favorable enrollment swings in the health benefits line, and I'm fairly comfortable with where overall expenditures are looking at this point for the full year, and expect the projected surplus to gradually grow from here. However, we're still dealing with the impact of the last few inflationary years, so I'm very guarded. Revenues continue to project a surplus as both non-resident tuition and interest earnings are going to be very favorable this year. So I'm projecting a revenue surplus of over $450,000, which combined with some health benefits savings that we're seeing, or I wouldn't even say savings, just cost below budget, of about $100,000. So total surplus projection right now is about $550,000, and that sets us up favorably going into the budget season, in that the initial draft usually includes a $500,000 offset of the tax levy from fund balance. So I think we'll easily cover that.
Okay. Questions for Dan? Okay. I think you have a little more.
Yeah, we have one action item. This is an interesting one. The county has an initiative to install stop camera systems. When the bus stops, a sign goes out, and this will be a camera that automatically goes on when the sign goes out, just to record. In order to get that installed on the consortium buses that bring our students back and forth to private schools, all participating districts must authorize participation to install the system. It's pursuant to an opt-in agreement, and we will have no financial responsibility for the installation and maintenance of the system. So, why not? If anything ever happens and we can have evidence of it, why not?
And would he install on our bus also?
We would not. And the reason for that typically is our bus, that stop sign rarely goes out. We go from one destination to another. We're not stopping at houses, unloading and loading kids on. So it's really no need.
So who's paying for this? Westchester
The
County?
county. And there's either state or federal money involved, and it's not us.
Okay.
Dan, is our bus equipped with any cameras at all? Front or rear?
No.
Is that something we need to consider for, liability purposes? Or would that help with insurance at all?
We could. We've never had any issues, with kids on our buses. But something to consider.
Or like a camera that captures the front view and the rear view, and if there's an accident?
I wouldn't mind having a camera on it for when for when it's an attractive nuisance or in the middle of the night as well. But we can look into that.
Okay. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Facilities, Dan?
Let's see, a lot going on. We have, I think the day after the last meeting, we opened proposals for construction management services. There are 4 firms set to be interviewed by the facilities committee and our consulting architects on January 9th, related to the next project that we're expecting to put before the voters as early as May 2025. So, that's a very important step. And the interviews are important because you have to figure out who they're gonna give you, because the on-site person for a project means just about everything. Much more than the firm you're choosing, it's the person they're gonna put here. And then, with the 2-week break coming up, I asked Mike Lee, what he's gonna be doing. And he says he's recalibrating 100 or so radios, whatever that means, hopefully less interference. High school office carpet removal and vinyl floor similar to the middle school office is being installed there. Paint, stripping and waxing of corridors, stairwell painting, and a circulator pump in a boiler room is going to be replaced. And if possible, if we get the parts in on time, access control installation on playground gates and the doors leading from the playground to the C wing by the weight room. We want to get those doors on the access control system. They're not yet on the access control system. And the reason they weren't is because I think at the time we got the most recent access control system, they were rotting out on the bottom due to flooding. So they've since been replaced and we're ready to go.
Okay.
So he's gonna be busy.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have any action items here, though, am I correct?
No
I
facilities
see.
action
Okay,
items.
that's what I thought. All right, I think we're going to the next IT network security.
Yeah, this is just a carryover from what we discussed at and approved at the last meeting, when I tried to use that document as the corrective action plan because it contained a corrective action plan in there, and they told me I couldn't. I had to have a separate corrective action plan. So I basically cut and pasted the corrective action plan from that document onto this memo.
Okay. And I assume
And we need to approve it so I can file it.
Gotcha. Motion to approve the corrective action plan.
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So I've been discussing with the board the New York State Education Department's regionalization plan. As a result of our discussions, we would like to opt out of this regionalization plan at this time. And there is a resolution that involves our ability to opt out. I think certainly we will maintain knowledge of how that's playing out, some more details of what their intentions are, and we always have an ability to revisit this if we so choose. I am pleased that there are a number of shared services that we are currently taking advantage of that benefit us. our children and the taxpayers, whether that's a consortium with private school transportation, whether that's special education services, and also certainly technology through BOCES Regional Information Center. So those are just a few examples of where I think we're already practicing shared services. So I would like, as a board, based on our conversations, to consider this this resolution this evening.
Thank you. Motion to accept the resolution.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then this evening you have one policy before you that's a second reading. So we conducted a first reading last month, and again this was an amendment to the rights of employees to express breast milk in the workplace. And so I ask you to consider this policy as a second reading, and that would allow us to add it to our policy manual.
Okay. Pete, anything to add?
No.
Okay. Motion to accept.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. We've had a few committees meet in the past month. Pete, why don't we just start with you? I don't know if you have anything to add.
We went through most of the audit thing. I want to thank Susan, who jumped in the meeting. Mickey couldn't make it, and she just does a great job in doing a deep dive into our audit, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. How about facilities? We have any?
Dan pretty much touched on it. Since our last meeting, we've got the interviews scheduled with the construction management firms coming up in January. We're looking forward to that, so we can start really narrowing down the scope of the project and getting our costs in line. I think that's pretty much it from facilities right now.
Okay. We had very lengthy strategies and curriculum meeting, and rather than us elaborate on that, I'd ask Ms. Meyer if you would please just to give us the highlights. And Meyer, as you know, is our superintendent of curriculum and instruction, so she's leading the charge on this. So why don't you share whatever highlights you think appropriate.
So we had an opportunity to hear from our high school social studies department about a couple of civil discourses that they're implementing this year in 9th and 11th grade. We also provided an update from our AI committee work in terms of the district's approach to AI. And I believe in January we'll be having some students share about their experiences with AI, and at that time we'll probably give an update more broadly to give an overview of that. So there's a lot going on with AI in the district. We also talked a bit about a math curriculum implementation for K-8, and that's going very, very well, led by our math coach, Ashley Chippa, who's doing a fantastic job. And we talked about the elementary social studies curriculum and looking at that in more depth over the next few months. That's something I'm going to be engaging in with the elementary teachers. And then finally, working with our middle and high school English teachers to develop a process for book selection that involves clear criteria that we can communicate to the community, and sort of clarifying what are the important components to consider when determining new books that might be adopted into the curriculum. So I think that summarizes it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Why don't we?
Finance.
Thank you. Sorry. Wow. Susan, yes, please. Finance.
Dan is already looking ahead to 25-26 operating budget, and we'll be really diving into that in more depth in January at the workshop. But he ran through some of the key variables for that budget, which will continue to put pressure. The tax cap is expected to remain low in the 2%-ish range. We think the pension contribution may slightly tick down, which would be a very modest savings. We just learned the health insurance
rate increase for next year, which will be 9%, which is even higher than it was this year. This year was about 8%. We're continuing on a route-by-route basis to chip away at our transportation costs. Already there are a couple of routes that we've implemented some changes with, and seems to be going well so far. We also talked a little bit about the upcoming capital project, which the facilities committee has been reviewing in detail. The architects have identified about $37 million in work to be done. It's all prioritized. I think is it 1 through 4 or 1 through 5?
Yeah, I think they identified probably over $50 million that we kind of prioritized and did some of that work offline already and are deferring some as well to get down to about 37 million.
Yeah.
And then, that means we're gonna have to borrow probably at least 30 million.
Yeah, I think there's still some lower priority line items that I think we're still talking about whether we might be able to defer or raise money for privately.
And this is very early stages, so we don't, we're estimating costs. Once we get a construction manager on board, they can continue sharpening the pencil.
Yeah, never goes down.
Yeah.
Never goes down. But the operating budget's gonna have some pressure on it going forward, in particular after 25-26, and we're talking about layering in another couple of $1 million of debt service. So we're continuing to look at different ways to be creative and balance, work that we've got to do with managing the increases to the taxpayers. But it is likely there will be increases. So that was the happy work of the
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. I really want to end on a good note like that. Thanks, Susan.
The finance committee had the same reaction.
Thank you for the reality check. Pete, I don't know if we have anything on PTA or
Nothing new. The Friday after Thanksgiving, they had the event at the Women's Club, Bear's Choice. It was excellent. Susan was there. Sarah was there. Eddie was there. Susan and Sarah left early. Or quickly, not early, quickly.
I was going to say that.
But it was a great event, and once again, PTA is doing a fantastic job.
And that event was
It was to raise money for the whole front of the school project.
for the whole landscaping project. Yeah, thank you, and thank you to everyone who organized that. Particularly Eddie, I know led some of the charge, and Pete, thank you. I don't think I'm missing anything.
I've got a facilities. I've got a foundation.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Eddie. Yep.
Yes, yeah. So the Bronxville School Foundation is hosting a winter fete at Silenoy on January 25th. It's basically going to be a great event to raise awareness about the foundation and to hopefully bring in some new younger families who might not be aware of the work that they do. They also have their community fund raising drive is open right now. They would love to have, and we would love to have, everybody in the village contribute something. Any amount is totally acceptable. They put every dollar back into the school, whether it's through educational programming, continuing education, professional development, things such as the security vestibule that's going to be constructed at the pond field entrance, the auditorium renovation, the library. So it's an amazing organization that puts in a lot of money that the school otherwise would not be able to, for projects that the school otherwise would not be able to afford to do. So please consider getting a ticket for that. It's going to be a great event, and consider donating to their community drive as well.
you, Eddie. And thank you, everybody. I think our next meeting after the break will be on Thursday, January 16th. We have a budget workshop also next month on the 25th. I take the opportunity to say happy holidays and happy new year. A safe and healthy one for all you and your families. Now we need a motion to adjourn.
We need public comment.
I think we'll go to public comment first. Thank you. What will we do without Susan, really? Why don't we go to public comment first? I don't see anyone in the room here. Brad?
Nobody online?
Thank you. Now we'll need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?